Thanks for listening to FYI Stillwater, where you hear information about your local government you didn't know you need to know. Be sure to check out other news and information from the City of Stillwater at stillwater.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hello, I am Paula Dennison, Assistant City Manager with the City of Stillwater. I have with me our Public Works Director, Mark White. Thank you for co-hosting with me today.
Thank you for having me again.
How are you doing this fine
I'm cold.
spring, not spring day?
This is not my kind of spring. I was talking earlier and I was like, the one good thing, I guess, about the cold weather and the not typical spring is we're not having bad weather with tornadoes and stuff like that. But I'd rather it be.
Now you're going to jinx us.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too. Yeah, but you're right. It's not typical this time of year weather at all, is it? But you've been doing some spring cleaning you were telling me about.
Yeah, been doing some spring cleaning at the house, and we've even been doing some spring cleaning here at work. So, we've had enough of these rain days that, the guys can't get out to Strickland Park. They can't get out to the skate park. So, we're cleaning up the Quonset hut. We're cleaning up, there at 8th Street. So, it has benefited us from that standpoint, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's good. Might as well, use up the time wisely.
Yes.
And do stuff that probably hasn't been done in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, well, that's good. So today, our guest, we have Community Resources Manager Barbara Bliss with us. How you doing, Miss Barbara?
I'm terrific. Thrilled to be here.
Good. So, Mark, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, we're going to start with some basic facts about Barb. Barb began with the city in September 1984. Do you remember that book, 1984?
I do.
You do? Have you read it?
No, but I remember it
You
was
do
one of our
remember?
book lists.
Yeah.
But I didn't
It was a
read
big
it.
thing around that time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because it was like kind of a sci-fi, political, into the future thing,
So see, you are famous. You joined the city in 84 along with the book.
There you go.
There you go. And think about this. That's 36 and a half years ago.
Yes, it is.
Wow. That's a long time with the city.
It is. I come from a long line of people who stay with their jobs forever. So
Well, you certainly have accomplished that, Barb. So you've moved up to the Park and Rec Department,
yes,
and is that your entire career?
that really is. Yes, I came out
Okay.
here right after I graduated with my master's degree from Indiana University.
Oh, okay.
So I came out here in the fall of 1984, and we were getting ready to move into the Armory building where we're located now at 315 East 9th.
Oh, wow.
But we were in the basement of City Hall for a couple months before we moved over there. So
We still have boxes that we haven't been through. We need to do spring cleaning too.
Yes.
From the basement days at
Yes.
City Hall.
Oh, wow. So you're an OSU fan, Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Not Oklahoma State.
Oh, I'm an Oklahoma. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
I'm an Oklahoma State fan too.
Sure.
And-
Both.
but yes, I'm a Buckeye. Graduated in 1982.
Okay.
Born and bred in Ohio. So yes, and then my master's degree from Indiana.
Oh,
So I'm a
wow.
Big Ten girl.
Oh, that's great. So a Buckeye and a Hoosier. Mm-hmm. Well, that's really interesting. I grew up, watching the Fighting Illini.
I know. I think they're going to get better. I really do.
Still Big Ten.
I
So,
know.
Yeah, I think they've got a chance. Their basketball program's good, football not so
Yeah, I
much.
think they'll get better in football.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's good to have everybody here today, and thank you for joining us. So welcome. Let's start with the lightning round. So we ask random yet revealing questions
Okay.
of our guest. Okay, you
All
ready?
right.
I'm excited.
Okay.
Yes.
Barb, what's your favorite plant?
Oh, the Buckeye tree.
The Buckeye
What
tree.
else? I mean, the state tree of Ohio. The leaves look like marijuana plants. So I played softball at Ohio State, and we'd come out in our jackets with Buckeye leaves on them, and they all think we were some drug culture or something, But the 5 leaves, and then they flower in the spring, and then they drop in the fall. Those nasty looking green spiky balls, but when you open it, it's a beautiful buckeye. So
Buckeye.
my mom used to go collect them in the fall and send them to me out here.
Oh, wow.
Oh, would she really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And what would you do with them?
Put them on my desk. You carry them in your pocket for good luck. A lot of people do that. I have a buckeye necklace, so yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
There are creative
Yeah.
things to do with them.
That
yes.
is neat.
Good.
All right. What's your personal fright story?
When our daughter Noah was probably 3, we were in a department store and we lost her.
Oh, that's
And
the worst thing. A
yes,
New parent or
Yes.
parent of a young one can imagine. Isn't
Terrible.
yes, and that was our one and only baby. And Kelly and I ran around the store yelling her name and notifying people, lockdown and all that. And Noah, we should have known this was a sign of things to come. She was hiding in a rack of clothes, watching us frantically go through the store searching for her.
Oh my!
Then she jumped out. Here I am.
Okay, one more.
All right. Let's see. Who would you have sing at your funeral?
I would have the voice of an angel, Karen Carpenter. She would bring everyone to tears, although I really don't want them crying. I want them to be happy,
Yeah.
at my funeral. And she could bring her brother Richard with her to play the piano if she so chose to do so. But
Yeah.
I miss her voice.
That's
I
a good
miss,
choice.
That is a good choice.
I just think she had the greatest voice ever. So.
Yeah.
Hadn't thought about that group in a long time. So thank you.
I listen to the 70s channel on Sirius Radio, so
Oh.
you can catch them quite often on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, let's start the interview.
All right.
So, since you have been here 36 and a half years, how did you get from Ohio to Oklahoma?
Well, I went from Ohio to Indiana, and then part of my job, I worked for one of the professors in the department. And so I was getting near my graduation with my master's degree, and one of my jobs was to code new jobs that were coming in for the graduate students to look at and apply for. So I saw this one, and it was kind of tailor-made for me, It was to, at that time, be in charge of youth sports, especially the girls, and do some adult sports programming, some special events. And I thought, that's kind of what I want to do. So I didn't post that one. I just applied for it.
Set that one to the side.
That went into my pile.
Perfect.
And
I think that's called cheating.
perks of the job is what it's called.
There you go.
And sent my resume. They asked me to come for an interview, so I drove my Camaro out here on my own. Figured out, you didn't have phones and all that at the time. I had to go to AAA and mapped it out for me, and I drove out here
Paper
on my own.
map. That you
Oh,
brought.
yeah.
Paper map that you're flipping in the car
Yeah.
as you're driving along,
Yeah.
your triptych. Came out here, spent the night, went to my interview. The director at the time was from Indiana University, so that helped me.
Oh, wow.
He had no idea what he was getting, but he and Paulette Reynolds, who was his assistant at the time, and Paulette and I really clicked. And they offered me the job before I left, and I accepted it, went back, packed up, and moved out here. So
And
Now
here you are, 36
Here I am. I said-
Still here.
oh my gosh, I said, and I'd never had an allergy before I moved out here.
Yeah.
But immediately, the allergies, and I just wasn't in love with Oklahoma, and I said, I'm going to be out of here in 2 years. But the more I was here, I loved Stillwater. If I lived in Oklahoma, if I lived in Oklahoma, Stillwater is about the only town I think I'd live in. And then I loved my coworkers. Loved them. I mean, we're more of a family and several of them are still here with
Yeah.
me. So,
I think that's a lot throughout the whole organization.
yep.
I think
You
so,
know?
too.
You've got those really close ties.
Yes.
You don't just work together, but you truly, deeply care about each
Right.
other.
Yes, we were more like family than.
Yeah, it's
coworkers.
interesting because I've only been here 7 years, and you know the relationships that I've built in 7 years, and the trust, and like you say, that family feel is so evident. I mean, you know, there's people all around throughout the city, you know, up here at City Hall and stuff like that. I just drop in and talk to them and stuff like that. COVID slowed it down a little bit, but you know, you just build these really strong relationships. It's really neat.
Yes, it is. And so I've stayed. I mean, I've had no reason, raised my kids here, and it's been a good place to raise kids. And
Now, did you say you played softball at Ohio State?
oh, I did.
Now, I never knew that. So here, you don't tell me that?
Mark.
Seriously? So that's
You
neat.
just don't ask the right questions.
I guess not. We've been neighbors for 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. Yes.
So what position did you play?
Third base.
Oh, very cool.
And it was back in the days when, you know, women weren't even in the NCAA. They had their own.
Was it like club?
No, it was varsity, but
Okay.
but it wasn't under the NCAA. They did that the year after I left.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so I was a walk-on because my high school team did not have fast-pitch softball. So I knew I wanted to go to Ohio State. And my parents, God bless them, they offered all three of us kids the opportunity to go to college. And I was the only one who took them up on it.
Oh, wow.
And my dad worked at a factory. My mom didn't work. And they offered to pay for the whole thing. And at that time, you could pay for college on one income. It
Yeah.
didn't cost $24,000 a year.
Yeah.
I remember getting the bills in the mail. My tuition was $334 per quarter. Ohio State went by quarters.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
I mean, picture what it is now. But they offered to pay. I took them up on it. I wanted to go to Ohio State. I wanted to walk on, try to get on the softball team. I did. And from there, I got several academic scholarships. And finally, my senior year, after starting for 4 years, they gave me an athletic scholarship.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
And so I helped my parents through it, but I'm really appreciative to them for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
And then you moved out here away from them.
then I got as far away from it as I could. I did. And our relationship got tremendously better. So
That happens sometimes, doesn't
it
it?
does.
Yeah.
We were very good. I'm a good letter writer.
Oh,
I
there you go.
write much better than I speak.
That is an art that is not practiced much anymore. I'd much
No.
rather write a handwritten
Me
letter
too.
Yeah.
than type it on the computer and print it out and sign
Right.
my name to it
And
or
I
send an email.
Yeah, I did that in college once a week. I wrote them a letter.
Yeah.
And my mother had them all saved. When she died, she just had bundles and bundles.
Did
Wow.
she really?
And the good ones she would pass on to the relatives that described
wow.
things that were going on, and
Oh, no,
my
that's neat.
roommates, and
Yeah.
so
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
That is.
So in Park and Rec, since you've been in Stillwater for so long, and all of your training and education and all is in this related field, what all changes have you seen here in Stillwater and also at a national level?
well, here in Stillwater, I mean, we used to be a huge department. I think we had over 30 people in park maintenance, and then, my gosh, there were probably 10 of us in the recreation division doing different things. We've now moved towards letting people who are experts in those fields do those things, so we have a lot of public-private partnerships. So, I mean, I thought we did a pretty good job in a lot of things, but these people, that's the one thing they do. So we have one group that does sports, and one group that does the arts center, and one group that does kittens. And, you know, we have tiny paws under us, so that's one of our public, that's one of our
And they do
public-private.
kittens very well.
They do kittens. I do kittens well. I have many cats, but they really do it well. So that's a trend you see. More public-private partnerships. sports, you see still the youth sports very, very active. We have a lot of kids that participate. So we kind of, health and wellness has become a big focus. And that wasn't necessarily what you saw when you first came into it. I mean, yeah, get out in the parks and all that, but really a lot of focus on health and wellness.
Yeah.
And communing with nature and just trying to get outdoors more. So you see a lot of that emphasis more. And not developing land as much as we used to. I mean, everything, you thought you had to turn land into some type of park or some type of ball field. Kind of going back to nature on some of that stuff and looking at more natural land rather than developing everything within the park system. So,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's not necessarily a bad thing,
no,
is
it's
it?
not.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the public-private partnerships that we have. Talk about a couple of those here, what their objectives are, how we got into that relationship with them, and do you see them as benefiting the city or covering things that current staffing and resource levels cannot?
Well, the one I work probably most closely with that takes up a lot of my time is SASA, Stillwater Area Sports Association, and Carol Wallstead runs that, and she's fabulous. We have a very good relationship. She's involved with putting on all the youth and adult sports in Stillwater, and then she's picked up additional things, like she'll do the tennis lessons and anything to do with type of a sports-related program. Carolyn's very willing to put that on and get people involved in that. They can do a very good job. They just had a tournament in town, baseball tournament, brought in 93 teams. They can do that so much better than we could because they can bring in people from outside to work and pay them immediately after they work the tournament. You have to bring in a tournament director and then all these umpires and people to work the gates. And, the city, we had to process them if they're an employee and put them
Yeah, all
the
background
paperwork and
yeah.
and then they gotta wait 2 weeks for their checks, and people don't like to do that. So when they come to work tournaments, they expect to be paid as soon as they're done working. She could do all that. So the tournament, even though it poured down rain the Friday night, the first night, they got the games in Saturday and Sunday, brought I don't know how much money into the community because every hotel was booked.
Good, and hasn't been for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Restaurants were
That's a good
busy. The On Q out by Wittenberg said they did 5 times the business that weekend
Great.
that they normally do.
Uh-huh.
So,
Big benefit to the community
Right.
and to city government
Right.
as well.
right. So, they have really done a good job promoting their sports programs. And then she does additional things. She gets all the other groups who deal with youth involved in meetings once a month, and she promotes their activities also. So the YMCA, she'll promote what they have going on.
And that's another one of our partnerships is the Y.
It is.
With the swimming pool.
They
That's
run
right.
our city pool. It was another thing. I mean, it was probably cost effective for us to turn that over to them. We still get it ready for them, prep for them, purchase the chemicals for them, but then they run it during the summer. So we don't have to go out and hire the lifeguards and all that. And again, put them through the process, put them through the paperwork, train them. They already have people on staff usually that have worked their indoor pool.
Yeah.
So they can do a much better job of hiring people and getting the program, the pool up and running.
So it sounds like that our partnerships that we have, and there are many others.
Many others, Prairie Arts Center, Lake McMurtry,
Friends of the Community Center.
Friends of the Community Center, oh my goodness, yes, all the money and time and effort they've put into the community center, soccer association, I don't mean to leave anyone out, but just all those groups, tennis association, yes.
So they're mutually beneficial.
mutually beneficial. Yes,
Good.
they are.
Yeah, that's great to know.
So I'm the liaison with them, so that's a big part of my job, making sure what they're doing is promoting city activities and doing what they need to do for the public, and then making sure they have what they need to do that.
Good. So as an announcement, anybody that can be watching or listening in the upcoming future, some of our future city council meetings are going to have their reports from
Yes,
our
it is.
public-private partners. So tune in and listen to those council meetings and check the agenda when they're going to be there,
I
because they're going to be spread over a couple
Yes.
of meetings. So what about any advice for somebody listening or watching that really loves, like you've said, you love the outdoor aspect of it, the sports aspect of it, the family relationship aspect of what you do? For somebody looking to Parks and Rec, what advice would you give them?
What I would do, and probably an area that would help the most is if you want to go into this field, to get the degree and to make an emphasis on therapeutic recreation, so inclusive recreation. We have a lot of ADA issues that we have to deal with in this town, and all parks and recreation departments are kind of behind in some of the accessibility issues and the programming. And if you have experience in that, that helps tremendously, because we're trying to expand the programming we do for populations, and it would just help to have a wide range of not only programming and park maintenance, things like that. I would just get an overall Parks and Rec administration degree and go from there, but emphasize therapeutic recreation. I think because even if you don't get a job working for the city, TR, you can get jobs in hospitals and
Any of the playground equipment providers, probably
Yes.
even, you could.
Yes, if you wanted to go into that
Makes
aspect
sense.
of it, design, and really the past 2 years, I have learned more about maintenance. Thank you, Mark White.
You're welcome,
Of
Barb.
equipment and parks and irrigation systems and plumbing and things that you don't typically think of, but
You got to deal with.
you have to
there.
deal with.
Uh-huh.
Boy, do you have to deal with it. So you know more about park restrooms than you ever wanted to know, but that's part of it. So
Yeah, it is. Well, that's really good advice. So I'm gonna pick your brain with this just right quickly. What is the biggest hot topic item project that you have just started working on? The first one ever in the city.
the master plan.
Woohoo! Yay!
We were very, very excited. We're doing a master plan for the parks and community resources, and we are entering into negotiations with a firm to see if we can strike a deal with them. They really impressed us with their presentation, and so we're seeing what we can work out with them. But what they will do is produce a 5 to 10 year plan, and what we need to do with the parks, what we need to do with our programming, how do we get people involved, what do people want. So they will be out in the community asking questions of the public, what they would like to see us do.
So stay tuned and give your opinion.
Yes, they want your opinion. They will come up with a variety of ways to gather information. And it will help us tremendously when we do our capital budget. How we'll budget for the next 5 to 10 years. Do people want to see? Obviously, our swimming pool has issues. It was constructed in 1973. It's just a basic pool. Do people want to see that pool as it is continue? Do we want to build a new pool? Do we want more splash pads, which have been a huge success in this city? So, I mean, they'll look at all aspects of everything we do, including Mark's group and the maintenance and how we take care of the parks and how we take care of our buildings. So we're very excited to get some outside, professional expertise on how to do this and what we're doing. I mean, we all have opinions within the city, what we think should be done, can be done, but it's nice to bring in some people who have, worked all over the country, have done a lot of work in Oklahoma, and they can help us with where we need to go in the future.
Yeah, great. Well, it is a very exciting time.
It
for
is.
Stillwater and the Park and Rec and Community Resources. And so everybody, seriously, stay tuned because they'll be asking for your input.
Yes,
so
they will.
Please give it to help us out, do the first comprehensive master plan
Yes.
for our park properties, our
Yes.
community resource facilities, programming, everything.
It's the first one ever. So.
Yeah. So that is an exciting time.
Yeah. it
Okay.
is.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
with
you for
us.
having me.
Enjoyed it. Glad you were able to come back.
I'm thrilled. So, 6 months I'll be here again?
You never know.
I know.
Yes.
The City of Stillwater receives a number of questions by different means. Social media, email, sometimes we'll just have somebody call in or just walk in the door, even at customer service, and ask a question. So we got one that is very appropriate for this time of year. Mark, will there be any move-out specials for your appliances or your furniture or the OSU students?
Yes, there will be. The move-out specials this year are going to be May 1st and May 21st, and they'll be down at 807 South Perkins Road, which is our convenience collection center. Only certain items are taken, so they'll need to check our city's website at stillwater.org to see what those items are, and just remember a valid OSU student ID is required.
Okay, and I think that the last I read, and this is probably a little old news, not just those 2 days, but I think it's the whole month of May.
The whole month of May. Okay.
That whenever the convenience collection center is open, which I know they're not open on Mondays, Sundays and Mondays.
Correct.
Sundays and Mondays they're
Yes.
closed. So
Yeah, Tuesday through Saturday.
okay, so the month of May. So if you've got furniture, appliances, there's some criteria on the appliances though. They can't
Yes.
have Freon and some other.
Yeah,
Chemical.
there's some gases and things like that they can't contain, but yes,
Mm-hmm.
that is correct.
So check the city website.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark, for being my host. Again, always a pleasure to have you.
Always a pleasure to be here, Paul. I enjoy it.
Good.
And stay tuned for our next podcast.
If you have a question for us, email news@stillwater.org, and on the next podcast, we'll answer a few. You can find FYI Stillwater on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and anywhere else you enjoy your podcasts.